I suggest that you follow along with the PowerPoint that I provided you on the Renaissance to be able to get a fuller understanding of what happened during this age. The Renaissance is really what helped bring Europe out of the Middle Ages. The Renaissance began in the 1300s in Europe. Specifically, it began in Italy. There are two pillars to the definition of the Renaissance. That is to say that the movement of the Renaissance, which means rebirth, in this case, a rebirth of culture, intellectual activity, a rebirth of trade, and some of the dynamics that will take place in science. All of these things will help develop the ideas behind the Renaissance. The Renaissance, however, is built on two pillars that we have as part of the definition. The first one is the pillar of humanism. Humanism is the belief that man or humans are their own measure. It is the desire for human autonomy. What we mean by that is with the Renaissance, we're going to begin to see a slight shift away from the power of the Catholic Church and away from the worldview of Christianity. Under humanism, humans do not measure themselves by God or scripture, Christian scripture, but rather by each other. And so the idea behind humanism is that men and women, specifically men in this period, are able to achieve and accomplish more and more without God. They championed individualism, and it's also going to be the rise of secularism. Secularism is the non-religious movement that is going to begin to be born at this time. The other pillar of humanism of the Renaissance is classical literature. Part of the Renaissance is a move back to the ancient world, ancient Greece and ancient Rome specifically, for guidance on how to live, guidance for values and morality, as well as we will see, a huge influence on the art of this time. If you take a look at the slide under Renaissance art, you will see the difference between the medieval art picture and then the Renaissance piece, the Mona Lisa by Da Vinci. The medieval art is very flat, it's two-dimension, there's no emotion, there's no involvement, there's no three-dimension going on there. With the Mona Lisa on the other side of the slide, you will see emotion, you'll see three-dimension, depth, a little bit of mystery. These are going to be some of the new types of art that will be evolving during the Renaissance. And so a lot of times people will primarily look at the Renaissance as an artistic movement, but it was more than that. It affected culture as a whole, and it affected intellectual development as well. But we'll take a look at some of the art during this period. If you keep going through your slides, you'll see that the next slide is a distinction or a difference between what we would call sculptures. The piece on the left is what we call a diptych. This is a kind of sculpture that you might have during this period of the Middle Ages. The piece on the right is Michelangelo's David. And you can see there, it's a 17-foot tall statue. It encompasses humanity. It encompasses the ideal man. It is in the nude. All of these are hearkening back to the ancient Greek, the ancient Rome era with regards to art, and also putting in this idea, once again, that humans are powerful, that humans can achieve, that they can go beyond the scope of what they thought they could do. The next slide takes a look at and the next several slides take a look at some of the changes, some of the differences that are going on with regards to new types of art, new styles of art, as opposed to some of the old art that we had during this period. The Renaissance is going to see the rise of what we call the Renaissance man. This is the idea of a person who is very capable in doing many different things, but he is able to do one thing very, very skillfully, very, very well. Michelangelo and Leonardo da Vinci are considered Renaissance men. And what we mean by that is not only were they artists, but they were much more than that, especially da Vinci. He was also a biologist, he was a mechanical engineer, He was a botanist. He had a variety of different interests, and he was really good at a number of those things. But of course, one of his key areas was art. So you'll take a look and you can see some of the artwork of both Michelangelo and Leonardo da Vinci and the rest of those slides that are provided there. And you'll begin to see some new aspects with regards to art. For example, the evoking of emotion, the emotion that is captured within the art piece itself, and then also the idea that we want to have an emotional connection with the artwork. That's very Renaissance. It's a new shift. Once again, kind of the idea of centering in on the human element is going on there. You will see perspective that comes out with our artwork, in that you'll begin to see horizontal and vertical types of lines that will help us center in on one particular piece of the art, and that also helps evoke a new dimension with regards to art. And so, what the Renaissance is doing is it's beginning to crack open a little bit of a change that's going to happen in Europe during the 13 and 1400s. And wrapped into this is going to be some of the changes that will come immediately after that, including some European exploration that's going to come along, as well as challenges to the Catholic Church and the birth of the Protestant Reformation. And so, as we look back in Europe up to this point, we're beginning to see where she is continuing to form and really become the basis of what is modern day Europe today.